Thank you, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coffee Can't Fix Everything, where we talk about mental health over a cup of coffee. And I have with me today, I feel like you're in. Am I trying to gas you? Yes. So,
Hi.
I feel like your name is a mission statement.
It is. Yep.
Courageous Fire. Man, thank you for joining me on the couch today. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here, man. For real.
Yes. So I have so much that I want to talk to you about. I'm gonna be mindful of your time, and I know we're gonna get into your book, which I listened to. Um,
That's the best way, for real.
you know what? It really
It
is. It
is.
really is. And I have some ideas about that. I think it. We'll get into that.
I can't
We'll get into
wait.
that.
Look,
That'd be
you
off
know I
camera
spent 4
conversation.
months listening to how your mind works, so I'm game for it. Come on.
Yes, yes. But today, I want to talk to you about something that is somewhat of a theme in the book, not the whole theme of the book, but it is in there. Forgiveness, and when you hear that word, when you hear forgiveness, what is your what is your initial reaction to that word?
But it's my initial reaction. Right out the gate. Nope.
Tell me about that. When you say, and that is a note with a period at the end.
It was.
I think,
Yep. For real.
and I'm curious because you hear a lot. The reason why I thought of that, right, for our conversation, because what do we hear a lot? You have to be able to forgive to move on.
Yep.
You can't get over it until you forgive so and
Yes.
so. But sometimes that's not the case,
It's not.
right?
It's not. Thank you for that question. Because that's one of the things that me and my therapist talked about. And she was just like, so I just want to bring up this word. What does this mean to you? And I said, it means a hard, fast no, sis. And, you know, I'm trying not to unpack too much that we can't put it back in the suitcase.
Right.
But I grew up in a very dominating religious culture of, it doesn't matter how many people steamroll over you, your job is. And that became the albatross around my neck in relationships. And it's not just romantic relationships, any relationship, whether it was me and my boss or me and a coworker, whether it was me and another friend, that it was always my job to forgive. And I was taught that forgiveness means that you continue to place yourself back in a renewed status with this person of they've never done anything at all. It's as if it never happened and now we're fresh. Well, that came in my life. It walked itself out into several predatory relationships and circumstances. And so to me, as soon as you say forgiveness, that's what links up in my head. And so if I am still in predatory situations, that's not a healing situation for me. So why would I be thinking healing goes with forgiveness? I don't. To me, healing is not when these things happen, now I'm healed, like now I've arrived at it. And then everything after this little point is now wholeness over here. It's like, no, there are wounds that can be closed. There are things that can be scabbed over, scarred over. And maybe even some stuff will close where the little seam is really, really faint and you can barely see it. And that's all versions of healing. But none of that has anything to do with anybody else. That all had to do with me.
And I agree with you. And why is because when I think of forgiveness, depending on the situation, can be easier. Like if my kids do something wrong, okay, I forgive you. You forgot to turn your light off, or you forgot to do your chore. Okay, I can move past that. But for childhood trauma or traumatic experiences, I feel I need to forgive myself first. And I need to forgive myself only because there is
Sir,
yeah,
get yeah.
because there are times where depending on what the situation is, for myself, I need to forgive myself, but I don't, ha- me forgiving you is not going to change what happened.
It's not.
But what does that look like? So, what is the process of forgiving yourself? Because sometimes, as you can probably attest to, sometimes you got to forgive yourself for things that didn't even happen to you, but it was traumatic for you as well. So, what is that is a deep question. I realize as I'm saying it, but what does that
Yeah.
look like?
Yeah. No, I mean, so you brought up my name when you introduced me. Um, it looks like that, right? So courageous fire isn't just something I pulled out of the air. It was intentional. And part of my name is forgiveness to Andrea and honoring her. And I think that's what forgiveness always ends up looking like, right? So, for my own journey as a domestic violence survivor, it looked like, okay, Andrea didn't even know that if she wasn't getting a black eye, it could be abuse. She didn't know that. So she couldn't leave what she couldn't even identify. So forgive her for that, right? And the way that I can forgive her so easily is because look how she got us out of that, though. So I can look at her wins and I can say they overshadow her so called failures of what she didn't know. And so, big ups. Good job, Andrea. You got us out of that. Now, Courageous is going to have to take it from here. But we both forgive you and appreciate you. And I think that for people that I talk to one on one or that I do anything else with to help them move past something, that's always where we go is okay, okay, I get that. You're disappointed that you didn't see that. You're disappointed that you made that choice. You wish you hadn't. You're ashamed of this. Okay. All right, let's put all that to the side for a second. You're here now. This is the person who was back there. What did they do right, though? That you're now reaping the benefits of. And when you start counting that stuff up, then it's easy to let the other stuff go.
Yeah, I think you're touching on something that's hard for a lot of people as we're trying to get to that next level, forgiving a certain part, forgiving yourself, and to be able to go to that next level. Forgiving yourself is hard, especially for a very traumatic situation. I feel like we only focus on. There's not a lot of people who can do what you did because the thing they did wrong will constantly outweigh the fact that they were able to get out. I tell
Yeah.
people a lot that one of my gifts is that no matter if the glass is half full or glass empty or half empty, I can always recognize that there's something in the glass. Not,
I like that.
not everybody can
I
do
like
that.
that.
So
I like that.
for so imagine you're talking to somebody who had a traumatic experience and they just can't forgive themselves for even getting into it. Like, what is that initial step to break out of that?
I always talk about how certain things are some of the few things in life that people blame the person who was harmed instead of blaming the person who harmed them. Because traumatic experiences usually are something somebody did to you. It's like, okay, if somebody just randomly comes down the street and slashes your tires, why would you walk out, see your tires slashed, and go, wow, that's what I get for parking here? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean? You parked at a meter? You put the money in the meter. Like, why is that your fault that
Right.
somebody else slashed your tires? And most traumatic experiences, somebody else came along and slashed you. You were minding your business,
Right.
okay? No, you didn't know that other people had parked in that spot and they got their
Mm-hmm.
tires slashed. You didn't have that foreknowledge.
Right.
Okay, so the you back there didn't have certain types of foreknowledge to not park in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all. I mean, I didn't know when I was a kid with that whole hindsight is always 2020. I'm like, that's such a weird statement. What are these people talking about? Of
Right.
course, it's 2020 because now you can lay out everything and look at it.
Right.
But without all of that foreknowledge, what are the things you knew? And look how well you used what you knew to get here. Because I always say to people, but are you here?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have some sort of semblance of what your right mind is right now? Good job.
Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine based off of your profession, you're doing that with a lot of people who have gone through traumatic
Hmm.
experiences.
Hmm.
Do you ever do, this is just a side question as I'm thinking about this. Do you ever take on that energy when you're working with
Sometimes.
somebody, and does that take you back to your traumatic experiences, and are you having to forgive yourself all over again? Like, is it a
Mm-mm.
cycle? Like, what is
No.
this? Oh,
I
okay.
mean, and I think part of it is just the way I'm wired.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like, I am just like, when you not just survive but conquer a traumatic experience, and I feel like that is a part of the way that I'm wired, is if something was really great, I'm great at identifying the road and the process and the steps so I can repeat that greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And if something was shitty, I'm great at going, okay, how did I get here? Let's not ever take those steps again.
Mm,
And how am I going to get out to a place of stability? And then I can always tell somebody else, hey, when I was in that spot, this is how I got to this place of stability. And so for me, you couldn't tell me nothing. After I conquered my first big thing, domestic
mm,
violence, I was like, you
mm.
don't know about me in these streets. You better ask somebody. I'm so sick. Like I used to tell my kids, don't you hear that theme music? You don't hear it?
Oh,
You don't hear that?
that's
Because I
hilarious.
hear it.
That is
And I do have a
hilarious.
theme song. My theme music is Bad by Michael Jackson. And
Okay.
okay, and when I hear it, everybody who knows me knows I'm hearing it in that moment. They're like,
Mm,
oh, okay. All right. Yeah,
yeah.
so no, it's not hard for me because I still feel, and part of that was my name, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
walking around wearing that coat, just like
Right.
a superhero. Like you see them in their costume, you know they came to do business.
Right.
What's your name? Courageous. That's your real name? Uh huh. Wow.
Mm,
Believe that.
yeah.
Believe that.
That is so cool. I wanna talk about we were talking about before we went live, uh, your Mufasa moment. Or was it is it
Mm.
your Mufasa moment?
It's my speech.
Yes.
Yep.
So don't give too much away because they got to pay for that. But I want to talk about what that, at least what that looks like.
Mm.
What was going through your mind when you were like, you know what, what was my Mufasa moment? What does that look? Or walk me through that because I feel like that is so powerful.
It is.
And I believe just to kind of bring it back to the theme of our conversation, I feel like some people may need that just to even start the process to forgive.
That's really good, Corey. That's really good. I think that had to have happened when there was this moment when we were all still living as that dysfunctional family.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughters at that point were either 9 and 11, or by then they were 10 and 12. And, abusers say a lot of things to make you believe that this is how they really are. One of the things that he told his kids was, if you ever don't feel comfortable with something I've said or done, you can come to me and talk about it. Now, that was said, but I don't actually want you
Mm,
to do it, right?
right.
And so then when, of course, anybody ever brought something, it was always deflection or verbal abuse or whatever. And so this time he tried it. When they tried to, come to him and he tried to deflect and this and that, And I watched them dig in. I watched these little girls say, Dad, you said that we could thus and so. And in that moment, I said, whoa, who am I in this moment? Because I had a very clear picture of two very different options. Yes, I'm afraid of this man, but look at these two little girls. They're holding him to task. They need backup. So, in this moment, are you still the fearful wife who is going to go slink into the background? Or are you their protector, their strength, their extra power, the person who's willing to right the wrong you see? Who are you in this moment? And I was just like, yeah, I'm their backup. I'm their backup. Because if they're willing to go out here, they're not going to go out here by themselves because I'm mom.
Right.
I'm not wife. I'm mom in this moment. That's who I am. And I am such a creative, right? I do a lot of things and they all come from such a place. And so I watch animation different than probably some other people. And I might be watching something that's a cartoon, but I'm pulling other things from it. And so in that moment, that whole, James Earl Jones's voice, you know what I
Yo,
mean? And so like, remember,
man.
that thing started resonating in my chest. Remember who you are. You are their mom, Mama Bear. Step up. And I did. And that thing was then something I could call on the next time and the next time. So they saw that step up and they continued to step up until he said one day, I think I should remove myself and start packing his stuff.
Whoa. How did that feel?
Oh man, it was amazing. It was amazing. Unbelievable in that moment, but amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you decided to be who you were already supposed to be.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like everybody has, I love that. I feel like everybody has that. But what is it going to take for it to just get out of some people?
You know, there is in every human being a survivor instinct. There is. That's why when you put human beings in a dire situation, they will do the extreme thing to get out,
Right.
right? And so I feel like for all of us in that moment, it was like, okay, the air is thin.
Right.
Everybody's starting to lose consciousness. What are we going to do? And I think in that moment, everybody was like, oh, no, 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 no. We're going to kick some windows out. We're going to jump if we have to, but we're getting out of here. And I
Yeah.
think that for every human being, it has to be that moment where you see literally life or death staring you in the face. And that human thing, it has to come up. I believe it has to show itself, and it makes room for you to survive.
Man. Okay. Okay. When, let me ask you this. When is it the right time to forgive?
I do think it matters because let's go back to that moment of, oh my goodness, I'm losing consciousness. I'm about to black out. This is it. This is it. Oh my gosh. That's not the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is not the time. You
Okay.
know what I'm saying? Because people will go, I really think we need to examine. And it's like, you know what? Right now, the survivor instinct in me is saying, if I don't find money for this mortgage, we're heading toward
Man.
foreclosure. If I don't get this bill paid, they've already been calling while me and my kids are in the car, and they're going to repossess what we're writing in. I don't want to, I got to deal with the stuff that feels like crucial, that feels like right now, that feels like something's on fire and it's me. Like, that has to be dealt with first because a person can't even hear complex concepts when they're losing consciousness.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? It's like this is not the time for, forgiveness of yourself is really like that's not the time because I can't hear you. There's a ringing in my ears.
Yeah.
There's a black sheet in front of my eyes. I'm barely getting out of here.
Yo, and low key, I feel like forgiving before you're ready is worse. Does more harm.
It does. First of all, let's be clear. Now, I mean, you're a man. I don't know how some of y'all is wired, but I understand how women are wired.
Right.
And for us, it has never not been true. You can look a woman dead in her face and be like, "You are a piece of trash," and she'll be like, "I'm a piece of trash."
Oof.
Now you can look at this same woman and be like, "Girl, you are all that," and she'll be like, "What makes you say that? You got to prove it." So in that moment with a woman, if she's losing consciousness and then she's hearing the ringing in her ears and the black sheet is in front of her face, you won't be able to make your case of why she's so great and deserves forgiveness because there's not even enough of her present to hear your argument.
Right.
You actually have to wait until she feels safe and stable, and then you can start laying out your case. Well, you are all that because you did this, you figured out this, you conquered this, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I did do that." Now she can hear. Now you've given her concrete evidence
Right.
that's refuted all the negative messages she's already heard. And now she can kind of start considering that that might actually be true.
Right.
Now she can start embracing that positive image as being who she is. Now we're getting closer to talking about forgiving myself. It's easy to forgive somebody who's great. Who's your favorite celebrity? If you could meet him and be around him, who would that be?
Denzel Washington.
Hey! Hey! Right? So if he came in
Yes.
here right now and you guys were sitting and talking, and let's say you had on your most favorite pair of pants in the whole wide world, but they're dry cleanable only, and Denzel starts laughing and spills coffee on your favorite pants. He's Denzel.
Right.
You already think he's great. You're gonna instantly forgive him.
I didn't like him that much anyway, Mr. Washington.
I hate these pants. It's all good. And look, you made a pretty pattern. Like you are going to
That's so
instantly
real.
forgive him
That's so
because
real.
you already think he's great. She has to think she's great before she can think about how easy it is to forgive.
Man, is that harder when you have an experience of being the OC, right? So, well, hold on before I get going. So the OC, because I'm talking like everybody knows what I'm talking about. So the OC is abbreviated for the other child in the book. Is the abbreviation. So this is for the other child, which is the name of your book. Yes. What is that like for the OC?
That's hard. That is hard because of what I just said. There's that conflict, right? There's been this constant conflict many times from the child sexual assault survivor of, I don't like you. And this constant tearing down, whether it's direct or subtle or a nice little combo meal. So then you're just like, okay, I want to believe I'm great. But if I'm so great, how come my sibling hates me and I've never done anything to them? So how can I see myself? And oftentimes the OCs are fixers in the family. But they can't seem to fix that relationship. And they've been trying for decades. So if I was so great, why am I completely ineffective here? Yeah, that's a tough one.
Man, and I feel like what I appreciated about the book was that it put, and normally, I'm just being honest with you, normally I don't like labels,
Mm,
but there was something kind of like relatable, like, oh, that's what that is. Yeah, I'm the OC.
you are.
Oh my God. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. When you're talking about it, I was the one courageous that would, man, I gotta wash the dishes so everything would be cool in the house. Let me do this.
Yeah.
Mom, I washed the
Oh,
dishes.
man.
Mom, I did this.
Yep.
Mom, I did my laundry. Right?
Yep. Yep.
And so being it was like, oh, and now mind you, nothing. I did not have anything as traumatic as you talked about in the book happen to me or to my brother, but just knowing some of the little things that you were talking about that I could relate to, like being the fixer,
Mm.
or um, being the one that had to be or felt like, because my mom she never put that pressure on me, but feeling like I had to be the good one.
Yep. Yep.
You know what
I
I know you
do.
know what I mean,
Yes, I
because
do.
so like
Hmm.
it was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not reassuring in that family though, but it was like, oh, okay, like I got people out here.
For real. And that was one of the reasons why I did it, because I'm just tired of being just the odd man out.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, how sorors and fraternity, folks have like little sounds. And
Yep.
I'm like, can somebody make the sound? Where y'all at? Where y'all at?
Where's our dance at?
Okay. I need a little skeet or a little sign or something. Give me
Something.
something. Yes.
So can you walk me a little bit through? And I want to show the people your book. This is for the other child. Walk me through your process of process, meaning one, what was your what was the thing that you said, I need to write this book?
Mm.
What was, because there were times, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I could hear you were crying.
Yes.
I can hear it.
Yep.
I'm like, it was like almost uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
do I fast forward through this? But I really want to. But I really want to listen. But I could tell like your voice is trembling, or
Yeah.
like you don't want to say it, but you got to get it out. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what was the process through that? Because I don't know if it felt therapeutic for you. To me,
No, it did. It
okay.
did, because all of that stuff was thundering around in there.
Mm,
And so I don't know about anybody else, but that level of intensity of pain inside my body actually was painful to my body.
mm-hmm.
Like, it hurt, like
Wow.
physically.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, if I say this out loud and I'm sharing this with people, this is gonna have to be better than all of
Mm-hmm.
the bumping around it's doing on the inside of me.
Right.
So yeah, it was.
Right.
It was.
Um, I feel like this is obviously it's very personal to you, but it can be very educational. Why do you
Yes.
feel like this is something that can be utilized for maybe for professionals?
Yes. Yes, because nobody ever asked me anything
Mm.
beyond, how they do the intake,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's got their questions. Ding, 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 ding. Did this happen to you? Did this happen to you? Are you this person? Are you that person? And because I said no to that question, they just went on by.
Mm.
And I had said to my therapist, I think, and I started therapy shortly after he left. So that was in 2017.
Mm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
said, many therapists got fired, by the way. So I said to the first one, um, I feel like there is something that I don't know that's under the surface, and at some point it's going to rise up and get me when I'm
Mm.
not ready for it. This was it.
Mm.
This was it.
When you weren't ready
I
for it.
was not.
So
I didn't even know that there was trauma from what happened to her for me. I didn't know that.
What was it like processing that?
Oof. At first, it was literally like getting hit with whatever the hardest thing is that you can get hit with in the
Man,
face. Like literally. You know, those movies where you see somebody get hit with something, you're like, whoa, I'm glad I
right.
didn't feel that. I felt that. It
Man,
knocked the wind out of me. Um, I doubled over. I mean, like my body spasmed for weeks after that.
man,
Like it was excruciating.
man. In the book, you go at the end of the book, you go over um, some tips and some tools for OCs.
Yes.
Is there one that you felt like just for somebody who is kind of dipping their toe into wanting to make that change? Is there something that was kind of a lighter lift to get started?
I think the lightest lift is to just wow, see yourself. Just that.
Right.
See yourself. Period. Without the caveat of, well, I mean, I shouldn't make it about me. Because anytime there was even the slightest thought of, well, this doesn't feel good to me. Well, what about me? What do I need for? I would always bat that thought away and go, shame on you. Now you know you should just be glad it wasn't you. You know you shouldn't be worried about all of that. Just let's refocus. Let's get our shift back to sis. And I did that every time. So to me, the lightest lift is just see yourself.
See yourself. Man, easier said than done. But I think it's.
It is.
Sorry, I'm trying to. I I just I have so many questions, and I'm trying to be mindful of our time here
Right, right,
because
right.
they like we about to close.
Right, right.
but I want to say this though. You know, if I want to get closing. Thank you, Courageous. Thank you so much for this
Absolutely.
conversation. Where can people, before we close, where can people find the book?
The easiest place is Amazon. And
Okay.
just type it in because it'll show you all the different formats of the book, including the audiobook. So if you click on that, it will reroute you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll make sure I put the links in the description
Okay.
of the episode. But this is that moment where I ask my guest if you could look into the camera and for that person watching that needs some encouragement, if you were talking to them right now, what would you say to them?
You did good. You were dutiful, you were loving, you were considerate, you were compassionate, you were selfish. You did good. That was a beautiful human thing that you've been doing all through the years. Now, all you need to do is just turn that inward. That's it. Just turn it around. And you can do it.
And we will end with that. Courageous. Thank you so much. This was great. I got more questions, but I'm gonna wait too. Everybody, thank you for listening to Coffee Can't Fix Everything. Like I say after every show, I am not a therapist, but there will be links in the description of our episode where you can find the help that you want, and if you need it, it'll be there for you. Coffee can't fix everything, but we will break the stigma of talking about mental health one coffee at a time. I'll let you next time.